My name is Wallace Gator Bradley. I'm the president of United in Peace, Inc. I'm also the host of the Bradley Report. Today's show is very powerful, very interesting, especially during this global pandemic. A lot of things has came out in the news about the nursing homes, and I've been talking about this on my show every week on what the governor should have been doing as far as enforcing the Nursing Home Care Act. There's a story that came in the Tribune, and we're going to talk about that here recently. All the deaths of senior citizens, and like the country is saying that the president is responsible for over 200,000 deaths because of the things that he knew about the COVID-19 and he didn't tell the public. Before I get off into all of that, this show is produced and the topics that I'm speaking about and the fact that it's being directed by none other than the chairman of United in Peace, Inc., none other than my wife, Terry Marsh Bradley. And it's being made possible with the aid and assistance of Brother Omari. With that, I want to say to God be the glory, and that's my story. Let's go to work. Omari.
If you pick up that gun and you fire that gun, anyone that get harmed from you firing that gun, that's an innocent bystander. We asking the community, ostracize them, push them out, don't let them hide anywhere, don't support them, and let law enforcement do their job.
The code is this. If you pick up that gun to solve your problem, I'm not endorsing violence. I'm saying you're violating the code if you discharge that weapon and innocent people get shot or killed, especially a child or an elderly person. And the community must uphold that code.
He got a shoe shined.
The reason that it worked in the 90s, because everyone was a part of it. Kids, women, elderly, was off limits.
You didn't touch him.
Didn't touch them.
By ostracizing from the community, pushing you out of the community, not supporting you in the community, or protecting you in the community, so that law enforcement can do their job by apprehending you. And the Cook County State's Attorney can do her job by making sure that you get a fair prosecution. This is so that there's no retaliation in the community because you discharge or you fire that weapon at your intended target.
We all got to come together. Those of you, my name is Wallace Gator Bradley. I'm the urban translator, and I'm the president of United Peace, Inc. We all got to come together to let it be known that Black lives matter everywhere. Regardless if a police shoots somebody that's black, it means twice as much to our community when someone black
is shooting someone black.
With at least 8 children under the age of 10 shot in the city in just 2 weeks, some are asking if that code still carries any weight.
This is something that we got to do.
Gator catches up with some friends on Calumet.
That 1-year-old that got killed.
His conversations of late have focused on kids getting shot. He says the rule still applies.
We as men got to put it down and say, that still exists. It never left.
We all got a
We
responsibility.
all got a responsibility, man.
But it never left.
I'm putting a call out to all the brothers. You know what we do. Put the word on the street that this is no longer tolerated. Me and Holmes work together and we know how it works. We've been able to help individuals turn themselves in of the community, take them out for law enforcement to come and arrest them. Now is the time. Just like it was the video from Miss Frazier that let everybody know about the awakening of George Floyd. Somebody got a video, or we need to use our videos to stop this senseless violence. And I believe that vengeance belongs to the Lord. And with that, I want to say, to God be the glory. And that's my story. You know, I'm going to keep pushing the code, and the fact that in light of attention being on the police officers that's killing African Americans, like they're going hunting ducks across this country. We just saw the decision that came down, and Sister Brianna, I think that's her name, with the police, 3 of them. One of them got charged with shooting into another apartment. They didn't mention her name in the indictment. And they went before a grand jury, from what I'm reading, because I haven't seen the grand jury report, and they're demanding the grand jury report. And the people want to know, what did that attorney general present to the grand jury to the point that they charged this police officer whose bullets, from what I'm reading, was responsible for killing that young lady. They felt like the bullets going in other apartments was more worthy of a charge than the bullets that went into that sister who was an African American. And those police officers were white police officers. That being said, the continuing mass shootings that's happening across the country in African American communities, especially in Chicago, by other African Americans, the numbers are far worse than the shootings of African Americans by police. Don't get me wrong and don't get me twisted. I feel like senseless violence, shootings and killings of African Americans by anyone, especially by another African American, those individuals need to be apprehended, arrested, if you will, fairly prosecuted, and receive a fair trial. And if they're found guilty, they need to be sentenced. Bar none. That's what the code is about. And while I'm on that, we have a serious election here in Cook County, and that's the state's attorney's race. When I see how those that want to take the state's attorney's office back to what it was, the racism and the corruption all the way back to Hanrahan, Daley, Devine, and Anita Alvarez, where there was a lot of police misconduct, police murder, John Burge cases. I'm glad that the state's attorney, no, I'm glad that the Sun-Times came with their endorsement. Let's see if I can get, there you go. Came with their endorsement of Kim Foxx. The endorsement, Kim Foxx for state's attorney. They endorsed her for state's attorney because Cook County can't dare to go back to the time of Hanrahan, Daley, Dick Devine, and Anita Alvarez. Generations, decades of racism, police misconduct, police murder. I'm glad that the Sun-Times have made that endorsement because everyone was trying to point the finger like Kim Foxx was responsible for everything that's happening. From the looting, Kim Foxx, the mayor pointed to Kim Foxx, superintendent pointed to Kim Foxx. Everyone was pointing to Kim Foxx like it was her fault that the people looted downtown after George Floyd was killed. People need to understand that Kim Foxx is the prosecutor. She do not do the arresting. She do not set the bonds. She is not the judge that make the decision if an individual should be released on bond and if an individual should have home monitoring. Okay. It said there can be no going back. There was a time in Cook County not long ago when innocent people were wrongfully convicted for serious crimes based on the most questionable evidence, as dozens of later exonerations showed. It happened more than we could have imagined. There was a time when the Cook County State's Attorney's Office routinely looked away from police misconduct, with the need for prosecutors and the police to work together outweighing all else. A prosecutor might accept at face value a confession the police had gained from a suspect and not question too closely how the confession was gained. That's what the Burge Torches piece was.
Commander John Burge was allowed to torture individuals with cattle prods and everything else to get confessions for murders that they didn't commit. A lot of them that you see coming out now was locked up for 25 years, 30 years because of that. Mayor Daley knew about it. Dick Devine, when Mayor Daley was the state's attorney. Dick Devine knew about it, because I believe he was the first deputy to Mayor Daley. Anita Alvarez knew about it, and they covered it up until John Burge made a mistake by the grace of God. He lied during a deposition in a civil suit, and everything came out. He ended up doing 4 years for lying about the tortures. Everyone knew this. Some of the same assistant state's attorneys that got the bogus confessions end up later on becoming judges. When the cases came back to them when they were the judges, they even tried to adjudicate the case. There's a case now, Gerald Reed, 28 years, torture victim, police torture victim. He get a new case. Judge give him a new trial because of the evidence that showed that he was tortured. The judge gave an order that he should receive a hearing date for a new trial. The judge that ended up getting the case, Judge Henley, and the special prosecutor who worked together in the state's attorney's office doing these tortures as assistant state's attorneys. Mylan was the supervisor of Henley. Though both of them made the decision not to obey Judge Gaynor's order, and they sent Gerald Reed back to the penitentiary for life. It's my understanding that Gerald went to court on the 24th, yesterday. His lawyers, attorney Elliot Zinger and Larry Dreyfus, with support from the community, Mark Clemens and others, and Gerald Reed's mother, leading the protests on the street while the lawyers handled it in the court. And Judge Henley no longer the judge because of his biasness. That's why we need Kim Foxx as the state's attorney. This guy, O'Brien, that's running against her, he got over 24 of those cases, John Burge cases that he was involved in, or police torture cases, or police misconduct cases, dealing with wrongful convictions up under his belt. And he wants to run for state's attorney, for turn order police, white supremacists,
protesting against her to get the state's attorney office back. Donald Trump is against her. People in Cook County, you knew all this and you made the decision to elect Kim Foxx state's attorney. Please, don't let them come in here and confuse people and take the state's attorney office back to what it was. This endorsement is real serious. There was a time when political clout and family connections, like being the mayor, I'm reading this and I'm going to move on. There was a time when political clout one minute, I'm gonna get this right. I want to get this perfectly. There was a time when political clout and family connections, like being a mayor's nephew, seemed to sway decisions about who might be prosecuted for a crime and who might not. And there was a time when county prosecutors measured success largely by a single standard: how many convictions they racked up. Never mind that our jails and prisons were filled with lower level offenders, disproportionately poor people of color, and many of no particular danger to society. Our streets were not made safer. Justice was not served. Rehabilitation was not a priority. So 4 years ago, when the voters of Cook County saw a chance to force a change and all that, they rejected the incumbent state's attorney and elected Kim Foxx. Foxx campaigned on a promise to disperse justice with greater fairness, regardless of clout or special connections, and to make our streets safer by focusing more on prosecuting violent criminals rather than petty offenders. I know that you heard that the special prosecutor, Trump sent in all these U.S. attorneys, other officers, or whatever he was sending in there. I'm glad that the mayor, the governor, and the state's attorney let them know they didn't want what the president had did in Oregon. And then when Barr come to Chicago, he gave the impression that they arrested or they were indicting about 200 people with gun cases or whatever it was. And the news media was glad to report that. And what was missing in the story, or what the people in the community didn't get. During that same time, state's attorney's office up under Kim Foxx and Chicago Police Department, because the police department had provided the evidence to Kim Foxx in order for the state's attorney's office to be prosecuting at the same time 1,000 cases dealing with guns, shootings, and killings. So I'm going to say this so I can move on. Please, you can vote early, starting October 1st. because the election is November 3rd, 2020. You can vote early October 1st, 2020. I'm asking you to vote straight Democrat, and especially in Cook County, to re-elect Kim Foxx, re-elect Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx. Please. You did it before, and you have changed. You voted for change, and you got it, and it's happening for the betterment of the residents in Cook County. And with that, I want to say, vote, don't choke, get out there and protect the change that you brought to Cook County State's Attorney's Office. Now I want to move on to another story that's very important. We all know about Brianna. I want you to hear this. Listen to this.
After 80 years, we've made it the longest lasting. But only you can make a moment last forever. We make it so you can
Even with this commercial, we're going to get rid of that commercial. Bear with me. I was just talking about Brianna and what happened. I want you to hear this. Look, listen, and learn.
Austin.
Thank you, thank you. Represent my niece in her EMT jacket. I chose this just to.
Hold on, we're trying to get it buffered up here. What she is going to share with you, soon we get this together, is the fact that the Attorney General, he didn't do the right thing with the indictment. They are demanding the indictment. They want to see a copy of the indictment that he had presented. And the fact that he didn't even mention Brianna Taylor's name in the indictment, when the reason for the Attorney General to even be about the case is because she got murdered. You know? Okay? So, how are you going to have something dealing with an individual who got shot because of the no-knock warrant rule? Here we come.
Brianna Taylor is speaking out. Today it was raw and
Let me see. We're trying to get it together for you because I want you to hear from her. Just bear with me.
emotional, even sad at points. Brianna's mother was
There
too
it is.
upset to speak publicly, but she made sure her voice was heard.
There it is right there.
And this is her message about Brianna today.
The system as a whole has failed her. You didn't just rob me of my family, you robbed the world of a queen.
Those words are from Brianna Taylor's mom, Tamika Palmer. Her statement read aloud today after a grand jury failed to indict officers who shot her daughter.
I was reassured Wednesday of why I have no faith in the legal system, in the police, in the law that are not made to protect us black and brown people.
There seems to be two justice systems in America, one for black America and one for white America. And this has been emphasized by this grand jury proceeding.
So today, a call for the Attorney General, Daniel Cameron, to release the grand jury's transcripts.
If you did everything that you could do on Brianna's behalf, you shouldn't have any problem whatsoever, Daniel Cameron, to releasing the transcript.
Her mother's pain today shared and understood by the father of Jacob Blake, the man shot 7 times in the back by a Wisconsin police officer.
My son gave me the power to come over here today.
Right.
He cannot stand for himself today. So I stand for him.
There you go.
We stand for him.
That's right.
We are family. We are community. It takes everyone to stand up and say something.
Protests have broken out in Louisville, Kentucky, and there will be more.
They murdered Brianna Taylor. And until those officers are fired from this department, I promise you, we will continue to make these streets hot.
Why in 2020 am I having to tell you that we're human beings? Why? Say her name!
And Jacob Blake's Taylor right there said that anyone who breathes must vote. That's the way he put it. And the Taylor family's attorney also announced that they will going to organize a national Get Out the Vote drive. That's coming up on October 14th. And that date would have been George Floyd's birthday.
Payday is magical.
Well, that's another one I want to show you. Yeah, the Brianna family press conference. Right there. You know, here it is right here.
Failed her, but it ended with the lack of investigation failed her. The officer who told a lie to obtain a search warrant failed her. The judge who signed the search warrant failed her. The terrorist who broke down her door failed her. The system as a whole has failed her. You didn't just rob me of my family, you robbed the world of a queen. A queen willing to do a job that most of us could never stomach to do. A queen willing to build up anyone around her. A queen who was starting to pave her path. I hope you never have to know the pain of knowing your child is in need and help and you're not able to give them. I hope you never hear the sounds of hearing someone cry and beg for your child to get help and she never receives help. Those cries was ignored. I hope you never know the pain of your child being murdered 191 days in a row.
Brianna Taylor entire family is heartbroken, devastated, and outraged, and confused, and bewildered, just like all of us, as to what did Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron present to the grand jury? Did he present any evidence on Brianna Taylor's behalf? We are standing here today united in solidarity, declaring and demanding that he release the transcripts of the grand jury proceeding so we can know if there was anybody giving a voice to Brianna Taylor. Just know we love you, Tamika Palmer. We're standing with you.
That That's very important. That's why this election is so important. For Kim Foxx to remain the Cook County State's Attorney, in order to be about fair prosecution. One thing Cook County know, she's prosecuted, I believe, 2 cases dealing with the misconduct of 2 police officers. One of them that killed Laquan McDonald, with her prosecution of the case with a fair trial, and the jury came back with a guilty verdict, and they sentenced Van Dyke. Understand this, the president of the Fraternal Order of Police don't even believe that Van Dyke should have been charged, even though everybody saw the tape. 16 times he shot that man. Even though the evidence that was presented in court showed that he committed that murder. Even though the jury came back with a just verdict and he got sentenced, we may have been upset because we feel like he should have got more time. But he got time. And Fraternal Order Police, the president of Fraternal Order Police, Donald Trump, Barr, you hearing it, you seeing it, this ain't no gator theory. Feel that they need to get rid of Kim Foxx so they can go back to the way the state's attorney's office was. Up under Hanrahan, up under Daley, up under Dick Devine, and up under Alvarez. Get out and vote. Everywhere, come November, get out and vote. You seeing where President Trump has said the reason he want to rush to put another state's attorney on the bench, one of his choosing. You can understand how he vetted her. If the election get to the Supreme Court, I want to make sure that you vote. If I lose, I want to make sure that you vote against that election. And I'm paraphrasing what he said, but y'all know exactly what he said. It's all over the TV. Vote straight Democrat. At this point, we do not have the luxury of that man being reelected. You see it ain't just gators, it ain't just African Americans, it ain't just women, it ain't just gays and lesbians, it ain't just the Hispanic community. It ain't just Democrats saying this. There's Republicans that's saying this. Get out and vote. And in Illinois, a true blue state, and in Cook County, vote a straight Democratic ticket. The judges that ought to be or deserve retention, vote for them. Vote yes. The ones that they say shouldn't be retained, vote no against them. Get rid of the bad judges. And don't get tricked with them saying the judge tuning is they want to get rid of him because of what he did in the Smollett case. That's not the problem. The reason they made a decision not to retain him is because he's over the juvenile courts. And he has been doing some wrong, nefarious things at the juvenile court. That's his record. It had nothing to do with him picking well to be over as a special prosecutor for the Smollett case. If that was the case, they would have been mad when he picked well to be over the special prosecutor in the case when Daddy's nephew, who was responsible for that young man getting killed on Rush Street, where the deal that David Webb cut as special prosecutor gave Daddy's nephew 60 days. He didn't even stay in the county jail. He went to another county jail. And from what I understand and from what I read, he wrote the check to pay for his stay in that jail. And they want the state's attorney's office to go back up under that. Sometimes I say hooray, hooray, hooray for your endorsement of Kim Foxx. People of Cook County that elected Kim Foxx, state's attorney, and came back and re-elected her during the primary for re-election, I say hooray, hooray, hooray. Come out and vote, starting early, October 1st. All the way to November 3rd, 2020. Come out and vote. Mean to get passionate in that. I want to share something why I'm so passionate. First, I want to.
Oh, Your Honor.
Yeah, this right here.
Case, Mr. Shell, are you available, sir?
This is a hearing on the guy that did the shootings in Kenosha. They killed 2 people and wounded another guy. And they tried to extradite him from Wisconsin.
All right. Mr. Pierce.
Yes, Your Honor.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
You're going to be handling the matter this morning, correct?
That's correct, Your Honor. We have a detainee count right now.
All right, very well. Ms. Lofthouse, good morning.
Can you turn up a little bit?
Good morning, Mr. Rittenhouse.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Okay.
All right, very well. Anything to report except for status of extradition hearing today? Anything to report, counsel? Oh, I'm sorry, hold on. Mr. Pierce, you were asking this to be on the record, is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
Ms. Lofthouse, can you make a record, please?
Yes, Judge. This is a matter of the state of Illinois against Kyle Rittenhouse, case number 20 MR 513. The state of Illinois, represented by Assistant State's Attorney Ruth Lofthouse. This matter comes before you for status. The defendant is present via Zoom, and his defense counsel appears to be present as well via Zoom.
Mr. Pierce, can you identify you and your colleague, please?
Yes, Your Honor. My name is John Pierce of the firm Pierce Bainbridge, and I also have, as Illinois counsel sponsoring me, Mike Baker here with me as well, Your Honor.
Very well. Mr. Rittenhouse is currently at the detention center in juvenile court, and all parties appear via Zoom. Anything to report with regards to status of extradition hearing today?
Well, Your Honor, this is John Pierce. I mean, I can tell you just very succinctly, we intend to challenge extradition by writ of habeas corpus, and so we would ask that the procedures be put in place whereby extradition documents are in fact sent from Wisconsin so we can review them, and then we would ask Your Honor we'd like to handle this in an orderly process so that we have a chance to review those, have a chance to prepare our petition, any other briefing, and then set a hearing date on the petition, Your Honor.
Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
So Your Honor is aware, the Governor Pritzker's warrant has been sent to the sheriff's office we confirmed this morning that they have received the warrant, and the Attorney General also confirmed that it was sent. So I just wanted to inform Your Honor of that fact.
Mr. Pierce?
Yes, Your Honor. So we have no extradition papers from Wisconsin. We have no extradition papers from Illinois. Obviously, we need to review those, and we are entitled as a matter of law to challenge those by writ of habeas corpus, which we intend to do, and happy to do it on an orderly, set briefing schedule, so everybody has a chance to put their positions in.
Very well. Per statute, the defendant would need to be served with that warrant from the governor, and counsel, I'll give you leave to file writ of habeas corpus upon review of that. I will set it for counsel review. A review available next Thursday morning with regards to, and would that be sufficient time, assuming he's served in the next few days?
So when you say Thursday morning, Your Honor, is that referring to a date to file our initial petition?
Correct. Upon review, you may decide to not to,
Yeah.
file whatever you wish, but
So Your Honor, thank you for that. I can assure you we are going to be filing one, and in fact, these are going to be involving issues of some complexity. Frankly, they've not arisen in the country for some time, and so there's going to be a lot of legal research involved in this. If Your Honor, insists on that, we can make it happen. But we would respectfully ask for some more time. Candidly, I'd like to have 30 days, but we'll take whatever we can get. Your Honor.
State your response.
Your Honor, as you stated, the statute requires the notice to be served. We can be ready for hearing in a reasonable amount of time. So once we receive the motion, but if counsel needs, more than next week, I have no objection to accommodating a reasonable briefing schedule for that.
Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it for counsel in terms of your schedule. I'll give you 14 days to review the petition and file any pleadings. So 14 days from today would be, according to my calculation, the 9th of October at 9 o'clock in the morning. That'll be for filing of all pleadings and to set a schedule. So with regards to setting your motion to be filed, or any pleadings be filed by the 8th at 5 p.m. And we'll have court on the 9th at 9 o'clock in the morning to set schedules and to set a specific hearing date.
Okay, that's great, Your Honor. We really appreciate it.
All right. Any other matters for the record?
Your Honor, just one housekeeping matter. To date, when we've had a chance to see Mr. Rittenhouse, we've not been permitted to take in any electronic devices. We would ask for an order that we be allowed to do that, simply because there is, as you probably know, an immense amount of video evidence, etc. And we really do need to be able to review that along with our client. So we would ask that we be able to do that.
So what specific electronic device are you talking about?
Like a laptop, Your Honor. We're not going to be recording anything. We just, we need to be able to show him evidence and to talk to him about it. That's all we're looking for.
Very well. State your position.
Just so I'm clear, they're asking to bring their own laptop into where Mr. Rittenhouse is being held.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be my laptop or our laptop. I mean, we're just looking to be able to have, a laptop so that we can review evidence with our client. To continue to investigate the facts and understand our basis for potential habeas petition.
I have no objection to that, Judge.
All right, very well. What I'm going to do is it's going to be subject to the detention rules. There's no recording. They have specific rules for those. At this time, I don't have a copy of that. I don't have a written motion for this request, counsel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to table this motion. Absolutely having a right to just review items with your attorney, with your client. However, we need to make sure that what specific rules we're asking to modify or amend. So if you want to follow that up with a written motion, and we'll address that. If you want to set a shorter date with regards to that issue, if you want to address that with your client prior to the filing on October. 9th?
Yeah, yes, Your Honor. So of course we'd like to, be able to have the chance to do that ahead of filing the petitions. I mean, we can file that today or tomorrow. It should be pretty straightforward.
Absolutely, but specifically which rules you want to amend, I would need to understand which rules you want to amend.
Understood, Your Honor. We'll make that clear.
Very well. And so if there's not an agreed order between the parties, counsel, you can motion the case up. If there's an agreed order, I'd be happy to sign that and allow access pending the agreed order between the parties.
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
All right, very well. Anything else for the record?
Nothing else on our end, Your Honor.
Ms. Malthouse?
No.
All right, thank you. End of record.
You know,
Thank you, Your Honor.
the reason I'm showing you this because Zoom is now the order of the day. Okay? And they're showing what's happening in the courts by Zoom. All right? That young man is the young man that was 17 years old. You saw it all on the news. You heard what the lawyer said. He want to take this in there to take to his client, to show his client what everyone across the world saw. He killed 2 people. He wounded another guy. He walked past the police in the tanks and in the cars and waved his hand and they let him go. He was in Wisconsin when he did that Kenosha. The reason you heard them make mention of Governor J.B. Pritzker, Senator Warren, because they want to extradite him back to Kenosha, Wisconsin, to stand trial for the murderers. The question becomes, and everyone in the world wants to know, how did he get back to Illinois when everybody knew he was the one that did the shooting? Who took him back to Illinois? That's why people are upset when they say it's 2 types of justice. White privilege and black and Hispanics justice. He was a part of a militia. They had the right to bear arms and come into another town saying they were protecting the town. But they was in cahoots with pretty much the police. President Attorney General saying they ain't did no wrong. They don't see nothing wrong. You got to vote. During this pandemic, to stop this madness and bring something right. And something else I want to say. Peaceful protests. The Black Lives Matter movement is working. Looting and shooting is wrong. You can get legislation faster with peaceful protests. You can't get it from shooting and looting. Now I'm going to move on to another story that's very important. McDonald's, the Golden Arches, and how they have done African Americans wrong. I'm going to let you hear it for yourself.
In trouble again with a lawsuit up to $1 billion with a B dollars launched by black former franchise owners. And McDonald's was in fact one of the many corporations that publicly supported BLM. But as you may have noticed, a lot of these mega corporations' actions do not reflect their words. So McDonald's claims they have probably created more black millionaires than any other company out there. The lawsuit, however, says differently and suggests that McDonald's corporate has systematically placed black-owned franchise locations in bad areas and gave the good locations to white-owned franchisees. This is a very interesting case. The claim states that revenue at McDonald's is contingent, and this is very true. We speak about this on the channel all the time. It's a contingent on only one thing, and that's the location that you're at. And allegedly, these black-owned restaurants earned on average $700,000 less than a typical McDonald's location due to being placed in these substandard locations. Now, if you watch the channel, you know that the margins are not huge oftentimes with McDonald's or fast food in general. And just because you make $2 million a year doesn't mean you make any money after paying all of your expenses. Allegedly, many of these black owners had to declare bankruptcy. So franchisees noted that the decisions made became all about the shareholders while the franchisees were left out in the cold. And we see this oftentimes with these huge brands. After they become so big, they sell or they go public, and the nice little franchise turns more toxic towards the franchise owners. And we've covered franchises in the past like Subway and Tim Hortons. We'll put links up above where the exact same thing happened. And if you want to buy a franchise, this is something in your future, find a nice emerging brand and ride that sweet spot while it still has a family atmosphere and has not become so corporate centric. Now, what's also interesting is if we look over the past 20 years, black ownership of franchise locations has actually dropped from over 350 black owners in the McDonald's franchise system to only 186 today. That's about half of what the number once was. Another lawsuit that was filed earlier this year suggested that close to 100 black franchisees left while under the control of ex-CEO Steve Easterbrook. Now, Steve Easterbrook, you may have seen him in the news. He was the CEO of McDonald's up until 2019, but he was fired for having what we could call inappropriate relationships with at least 3 fellow McDonald's employees. They found dozens of explicit images that were sent to his home computer from work, including photos of employees. He also approved a stock grant that was worth hundreds of thousands of dollars to one of his romantic partners. Now, the rascal deleted all these images from his phone, but lo and behold, all of this stuff, of course, stays on the company servers as evidence. So Mr. Easterbrook was fired and only received about half a year's salary as severance pay, which turned out to be about $675,000. Now, he may also receive about $40 million in stock options and other compensation. Now, McDonald's is suing Easterbrook to try and get that money back. Now, seemingly, Easterbrook is the tip of the iceberg, as another $500 million lawsuit, that's $1.5 billion altogether, alleges that McDonald's failed to protect its female employees at a store level from harassing coworkers. And teenage workers apparently are the most common targets of this abuse, and critics suggest the organization is simply mirroring what was happening at the top of the organization. You might recall back in 2014, a similar racially charged lawsuit. McDonald's franchise owner fired multiple black employees for no other reason than the store supposedly had too many black employees. It's unbelievable. The 11 employees had collective tenure of over 50 years and very solid work records. They were subject to ongoing racist comments and a toxic work environment. Now, when these 11 employees contacted McDonald's corporate, they were told, hey, deal with the individual franchise owner directly, and there was nothing that they could do. Now, this case was settled and pretty much swept under the rug of McDonald's lawsuit history. Subscribe to this channel. We're going to keep you updated on the latest in this lawsuit. We'll see what happens there. If you crave to hear the full version of the Ba-da-ba-ba-ba McDonald's song, that's actually Justin Timberlake. We'll put a link right up there. And our new channel, we just reached $1,000 billion altogether, alleges
the McDonald's piece is so profound because that's racism. But I'm trying to get to the story that's in the Tribune, dealing with a story that's in the Tribune, September 24th. It says nobody knew how to handle this situation, how COVID-19 disseminated Illinois' nursing homes and exposed government flaws. I've been talking about this. I've been saying that the governor has to enforce the Nursing Home Care Act. I'm trying to see if I can get that story. No way I can get it. September 24th. Google it. But this is one of the things that they're saying. You hear what they're saying about Trump and what he knew about the COVID, and he refused to tell people what he knew and how bad the disease was. And over 200,000 people has died. And the weight is on him. Because had he shared what he knew, he could have helped prevented a whole lot of deaths. Well, had the governor enforced the Nursing Home Care Act, Section 8, they would have released the state's attorneys in the state of Illinois, over 100 and so counties, and the attorney general, especially in state's attorney in Cook County, with Westchester, Salvo Westchester, being one of the nursing homes that the governor had put on his list as being one that wasn't in compliance. Now a lot of it's coming out how a lot of people died because of abuse and wanton neglect, all the way up to the COVID-19, because of actions that the governor didn't take. This is in September 24th, 2020, Tribune story. Something that we've been saying, we've been asking, we've been pleading with the governor. The governor and his Illinois Department of Public Health Director got rid of what they said were the bad individuals. One of them was the deputy director, because she didn't move on the complaints or whatever it is, whatever they did. They knew about this all the way back January, February, March, April, May, June. I know because we was having press conferences about it in reference to Loretta Brady's mother in Salvo Westchester. Miss Lottie Smith. Google her name. Lottie Smith. You'll see all the stories. Salvo, Westchester, nursing home and rehabilitation center. And I hate that this is happening. Trump says he's, and the Department of Justice was coming into the blue states that was dealing with nursing homes and how they've been dying. And I was saying then, Governor, please. Because I know the Department of Justice going to use it like it's a bad Democratic governor. Because the way they've been fighting one another. Gator's not the only one saying it. Residents are saying it. Not just African Americans. White, Hispanic, you name it. They're speaking out. When you read that story, it's going to come down to, man, it's going to really get you. Six months into the pandemic, the new virus had infected more than 28,000 Illinois long-term care residents, 28,000, and killed more than 4,000. It's also fueled debate over the Illinois Department of Public Health's oversight of a mostly for-profit industry. That includes how the agency cut back on inspections, at times breaking state law, as the virus raced through the facilities. Read that for you again. 6 months into the pandemic, the new virus has infected more than 28,000 Illinois long-term care residents and killed more than 4,000. It's also fueled debate over the Illinois Department of Public Health's oversight of a mostly for-profit industry, talking about the nursing homes. They got a law called the Nursing Home Care Act. They got a section in there that makes it where the Attorney General and the state's attorneys can go into them nursing homes, put them under receivership and find out everything that's been done wrong, fraud and everything. But they can't make a move without the governor ordering his Illinois Department of Public Health to enforce that statute. Although far fewer residents are testing positive now than in the spring, no radical medical breakthroughs are yet in sight. The arrival of fall season brings fear of a deadly virus resurgence. Continued struggles over testing and protective gear, and restrictions that, in an effort to protect residents, rob them of life's small joys, from hugging relatives and sharing meals. The families can't get in there to see what is happening. They don't find out what is happening until the family member has died or rushed to the hospital. A storm builds on March 9th. It says, and I'm reading this, and this is the news. It's in the Tribune. We've been pleading. And I want you to know, I ain't no Trumpster. I ain't no Republican. Republican. I'm a true blue Democrat. And I believe in J.B. Pritzker. I'm an ardent supporter of his. When he ran in the primary, I supported him viciously. Helped him get him elected in the primary. People can say, well, Gator, he would have got elected anyway. Well, the fact of the matter is this. I agree with you. But the fact of the matter is also this. He didn't win without my support and the support of others. In the general election, my intensity was just as strong as in the primary, and he got elected. I reach out through his people, I follow their protocol, because I convinced people to vote for him. And those people are calling me. Gator, this is happening. Can you call the governor or call the staff and tell them to do something? This is happening. Can you reach out to the governor? Did everything. And documented all the things that I did. So I knew he knew. And here we are today. On March 9th, Governor J.B. Pritzker led a packed loop news conference held to announce Illinois had become the 14th state to issue a coronavirus disaster proclamation. By then, March 9th, by then it had been 8 weeks since Illinois' first known COVID-19 case, which was an African-American woman. State officials stressed that they thought the spread had been limited, but they were taking proactive steps. That's what they stressed. One step was to ask nursing homes to begin limiting visitors and screening workers for symptoms. Pritzker's public health director, I don't want to mess up the young lady's name, but y'all know who she is because you see her during the briefings, said they wanted to make sure that we are not walking in viruses into a setting, a very tight and close setting with a very, very vulnerable population. It was already in there. By then, the people knew it was coming there. Come in there with a mask, wash your hands, wear the mask, wash your hands. Coming in. The people have a responsibility to look after the residents of them centers. Didn't even have masks. Didn't even have what they call the PPE. And some of them even died. As young as 35 years old. Pritzker Public Health Director but in nursing homes 20 miles southwest, the virus had already arrived. The same day of the news conference, a 67-year-old resident began to have a fever and cough, breathing poorly. She was taken to the hospital, where a coronavirus test came back positive. That was on March 13th. Within days, 5 of her neighbors inside that nursing home, which had 127 residents, also tested positive. This is one thing. That nursing home was called Chateau. Okay? Officials tried to reassure the public, saying they were prepared. Privately, emails released later to the Tribune revealed an early bureaucratic struggle as county and state officials debated whose job it was to find enough non-quarantine workers to run the chateau. Just one nursing home in the county of Cook. Salva Westchester Nursing Home and Rehabilitation Center was a hotbed. Another sign of confusion, who should wear masks? This was well before experts had concluded everyone should wear them, if possible. The people that had masks, they went and brought masks themselves, they was wearing them in the nursing home. And the people that was over the administration of the various nursing homes told them to take the mask off, what you're wearing the mask for. The state complained, the federal government, I'm going to say this, I'm going to be through. The state complained that the federal government had failed to secure testing supplies and protective gear, forcing a mad scramble among bidders for what little was left to buy. Pritzker announced an ambitious plan to test all workers at least once. But the effort didn't reach many facilities. Later, some states ordered all their facilities to begin regular testing. I'm reading this. But Pritzker didn't. Instead, telling facilities to come up with their own plan. So you're going to tell an individual to come up with their plan that's not in compliance with the Nursing Home Care Act. They're already breaking the law. So you're going to tell lawbreakers to come up with a plan to pretty much cover themselves, police themselves, when they're breaking the law. In the meantime, the virus tore through places such as Symphony of Joliet, where more than 20 people had died in mid-April. A prominent workers' union began complaining that its members were stuck on the front lines without adequate protective equipment, forcing some workers to find or make their own gear as best they could. With 200 of them in Cook County, it gets overwhelming very quickly, said a Dr. Christensen, who heads the Cook County's Communicable Disease Prevention Control Unit. The number of facilities inspected dropped from roughly 100 or more a week to less than 12, according to a Tribune analysis of available state and federal data. Reading this, and all I can say, Governor, please, before it get worse, go into that Salva Westchester and others. Salva Westchester is being investigated already by the Department of Justice for the misappropriation of $61 million. So the Department of Justice is already in there. That's in the county of Cook. That's in the state of Illinois. And the question gonna come, why haven't the governor got on this nursing home and all the other nursing homes that's on the list that he made public. They were in compliance. Governor, I'm asking you again, please enforce the Nursing Home Care Act, Section 8. And with that, I got to wrap it up. I want to say, get out and vote starting October 1st. Vote straight Democrat. Retain the judges that should be retained, and those are the ones I'm asking you to vote yes to, and the ones that the Cook County Democratic Party and others are saying do not vote for them, vote no. Vote no against those bad judges. Those are bad judges. Early vote starts October 1st. I'll be voting October 1st because I vote early. The election is November the 3rd. Get out there and vote. Don't choke, vote. And let me say, to God be the glory. That's my story. Thank you.